The city burned under a gray sky. Fire poured from broken towers and the air was thick with dust and metal. Eli Ward moved through the ruins, rifle in hand, boots crunching on glass and ash. His armor was cracked, one lens in his helmet shattered. Every few steps the ground shook from distant explosions. The war had turned this place into a grave. He checked his comlink again. Nothing but static. His squad was gone. Command was gone. The last human voice had gone silent an hour ago. Eli was alone on Grayton 9, the planet that was supposed to be the new forward base. Now it was only wreckage and smoke. He stopped beside a fallen drone, ripped open by plasma fire. Its sensors blinked weakly, then died. The streets around him were lined with alien bodies, the Zarvek soldiers who had turned on the humans without warning. The ceasefire had lasted 6 days. Then they came in the night, firing on every human camp. Eli had seen his friends torn apart in seconds. He pushed forward through a half-collapsed tunnel. Inside, the heat was worse. Sparks rained from damaged power lines. The smell of burned oil mixed with blood. He kept his rifle up, scanning corners, breathing slow. Something moved in the dark ahead. A weak sound, almost a groan. Eli aimed his light. A Zarvek officer lay against the wall, half buried under debris. The alien's armor was cracked open at the chest and his breathing was shallow. His eyes, dark and glassy, fixed on Eli. "Human," the alien rasped. "Kill me if you want. You already won." Eli kept the rifle trained but didn't shoot. "Who ordered the attack?" The alien coughed, green blood dripping down his jaw. "Not us. Something came from the outer ring. Took control. We lost contact before the order." "You're lying," Eli said, but his voice was low, uncertain. The Zarvek laughed weakly. "You think we would break the pact while the stars burned above us? No. We were forced." Eli looked around. The walls were marked by strange burns, patterns that didn't match any known weapon. He stepped closer and knelt beside the alien. "What did this?" "It feeds on signals. It hunts life. You will see it soon." The alien's voice broke, and then he fell still. His eyes stayed open, staring past Eli as if watching something far away. Eli sat back. His hand shook slightly as he checked the comm again. The static was louder now. Under it, a low pulse repeated every few seconds, like a heartbeat, deep and wrong. He switched channels. The same sound followed. He stood, slinging the rifle, and looked through a gap in the wall toward the sky. The clouds were red and black, and streaks of fire fell from orbit. His visor flashed a warning. Unknown energy signatures approaching atmosphere. Eli ran out into the open street. Above him, Zarvek anti-air guns were still active, tracking something descending fast from orbit. Dozens of alien ships rose from the horizon, not to attack the humans, but to aim their weapons upward. The air filled with the thunder of engines. Blinding flashes lit the clouds as the first plasma bolts fired. The sky looked like it was tearing apart. Eli watched, frozen, as one of the alien warships exploded in midair. Something massive broke through the smoke behind it. A shape of metal and movement, black as shadow and covered in shifting lights. He had never seen anything like it. Not human, not Zarvek. It didn't move like a ship. It moved like a living storm. Eli took a step back, eyes wide, the radio still hissing in his ear. The strange pulse turned into a voice. Not human, not alien, something in between. Signal found. Human detected. The sound of metal screamed across the sky as the thing turned toward the planet. Eli ran through the smoke as the ground shook under him. The air was full of burning dust and the roar of alien guns. He dove behind a wrecked crawler, pressing his back to the hot metal. The sky above was alive with light. The Zarvek fleet fired at something that moved through the clouds. He saw pieces of ships fall like rain. The city was dying again, but this time it was not because of war between men and aliens. His helmet scanner flickered, trying to read the object in orbit. Every system failed to lock on. The signal was broken, shifting, almost like it was alive. The strange voice still whispered through his comm. Human detected. He pulled off the headset and threw it aside, breathing hard. The sound stopped, but his skin crawled like the air itself was watching him. Eli moved toward the remains of a Zarvek bunker, hoping to find working comms. Inside, the walls were cracked, the floor slick with burned oil and green blood. A heavy door hung loose from its hinges. Behind it, he found a control room full of alien tech. The screens showed static, but one feed still worked. It showed the upper atmosphere. Something vast moved above the clouds, black metal with a shape like a swarm. He watched as smaller objects detached from it, hundreds of them, falling toward the surface like raining stars. Each one left a dark trail. The impact tremors hit seconds later. He gritted his teeth. Whatever they were spreading fast. He sat down by the console, trying to power the human comm relay on his wrist. The device flickered, and for a moment, a voice came through, a woman from command. All human forces, fall back to orbit. Unknown machines are consuming cities. Repeat, retreat to orbit. Then the signal cut off, replaced by the same low pulse again. Eli hit the console in anger. His hand bled where metal sliced his glove. He wrapped it tight with cloth and forced himself to breathe. The walls trembled again. Dust fell from above. He went to the storage racks, searching for weapons. He found plasma grenades, 2 energy cells, and a Zarvek rifle. He checked its charge and looked up when he heard a sound in the hall. Soft metal scraping. He raised the gun. A shadow moved in the doorway. A Zarvek soldier stepped in, armor dented, one arm gone. His weapon was lowered. He stared at Eli for a long second, then said in a weak voice, "You are human. Do not shoot. We have no fight now." Eli kept the rifle aimed. "Your people killed mine." The alien nodded slowly. "Not by our will. The signal broke our command. It changed everything." He stepped closer, holding a small chip between 2 claws. "This holds the message from our high command. You must see it." Eli took it, eyes fixed on the alien. The screen beside him blinked to life. A Zarvek general appeared, his face tight with fear. "To any surviving humans, ceasefire is now in effect. We face the same enemy. It consumes stars. It learns emotion. It found humans first. Help us, or none will remain." The message ended. The alien beside him sat down hard, bleeding from his side. "They call it the Harvesters. They turn our weapons against us. They feed on living signal." Eli felt his throat tighten. "You said they learn emotion. How?" The alien looked up, eyes dim. "They hunt what feels the strongest. Humans burn brighter than all." He coughed blood, then went still. Eli looked at the screen again. Outside, more pods fell from the sky, black trails cutting through the clouds. His wrist comm crackled. A strange voice came through again, louder this time. "Do not cry, human. We are listening." Eli left the bunker before the next impact hit. The air was burning hot and the sky flashed like a storm of fire. He ran through the broken street toward an old Zarvek tower that still had power. The city around him was gone. Whole blocks had sunk into craters. The machines were landing everywhere now, black and fast, moving like liquid metal. He ducked behind a ruined transport and aimed his rifle at one of them. The thing had no face, only smooth armor that rippled as it moved. It scanned the air with red light. When it turned, the light passed over him, and his visor beeped. The signal matched the same pulse that had spoken in his comm. He fired before it could move again. The plasma bolt hit the thing in the chest. It staggered, then split into 2 smaller shapes that crawled toward him. He threw a grenade and ran. The blast threw fire across the street. The 2 shapes melted under it. His breath came in short gasps. He reached the tower door and slammed his hand on the panel. It opened with a low hum. Inside was dark and full of smoke. He sealed the door behind him. The stairwell shook as he climbed. He could hear fighting outside. Alien weapons, human gunfire. Somewhere, someone was still alive. He moved faster. At the top level, he found a wide command room with cracked windows showing the city below. A group of Zarvek soldiers were inside, their armor marked with white bands of truce. One of them aimed a weapon at him, but another, taller one, stopped him. "Human," the tall alien said. "You are alive. Then maybe there is hope?" Eli lowered his rifle slightly. "You sent the message. You called for help." The alien nodded. "I am Vorkal. I led the southern defense before the machines came. You must understand what they are. They are not a fleet. They are hunger. They take what feels, and they keep it." Eli frowned. "What do you mean, take what feels?" Vorkal moved to a screen showing data from the battlefield. It showed waves of the black swarm spreading across the planet. "We learned they react to emotion. The stronger the emotion, the faster they come. Fear, rage, sorrow. They feed on it. It started when our scientists captured humans. Your minds burned brighter than ours. They studied your emotions, and that signal drew the swarm. We built machines to stop it, but they turned those machines against us." Eli stared at the screen. His hands were shaking. "So, this is our fault?" "No," Vorkal said. "It is ours. But now they have learned your frequency. Every time a human breaks, they hear it. Every tear, every scream, every fear. The more you feel, the stronger they grow." Outside, another explosion hit nearby. The lights flickered. Eli looked out the window. The swarm was moving across the city like a wave, crawling over metal, glass, and bone. Vorkal turned to his soldiers. "We must destroy the signal core. It still sends the human frequency. It lies beneath the old research site to the west. Without it, we have no chance." Eli nodded. "Then we go there." The alien gave a slow nod. "It is far, and the swarm is thick between here and there. But you are human. You burn bright enough to draw them. We will follow your fire." Eli stared at him for a moment, then picked up his rifle. "Then let's move." As they prepared to leave, the ground shook again. The lights went red. One of the Zarvek soldiers shouted. The lower doors were breached. The swarm had found them. Vorkal looked at Eli. "Stay calm. Do not let them feel you." Eli raised his rifle as the sound of metal and screams filled the hall. The wall split open, and a black shape crawled through the fire. It stopped and turned its glowing eyes toward Eli. The voice came again through the comm, louder and closer than before. "We feel you now." Eli fired as the black shapes burst into the command room. The air turned white from plasma fire. The Zarvek soldiers roared, their weapons cutting through the swarm, but the things kept coming. They crawled over the walls and ceiling like insects made of armor and shadow. Each one moved with terrible speed. Every shot that hit them made them split, their pieces turning into smaller forms that kept advancing. Vorkal shouted for his troops to fall back. Eli threw a grenade, then ran for the stairwell as the blast threw sparks across the floor. The walls shook, and parts of the ceiling fell in. The team moved fast, firing down the hall, but the swarm was faster. The noise was deafening. Eli's pulse was pounding hard. He could feel the fear pushing into his chest, but he tried to force it down. He remembered Vorkal's warning. "Do not let them feel you." They reached the lower level, the air thick with smoke. 2 soldiers were already dead. Their armor was half melted. Eli led the survivors toward the transport bay, shouting over the sound of gunfire. "We can't stay here. We move west to the research site." Vorkal nodded, his voice steady. "The signal core is deep under the ground. We destroy it, or the swarm will never stop." They burst into the open air. The sky was red from fires, and broken ships burned in the distance. The swarm followed like a storm cloud, spreading across the rooftops. The transport bay was full of wrecked vehicles. Only one still had power, a small carrier half buried in debris. Eli jumped inside and hit the start panel. The engine roared weakly, then came alive. "Get in," he shouted. The survivors climbed aboard as the swarm poured into the street. Vorkal fired the rear gun while Eli lifted the carrier off the ground. The metal floor vibrated under the weight of the engine. They flew low between the towers, dodging falling debris and fire. Black shapes leapt from the rooftops trying to reach them. Eli swerved hard to avoid a collision. One of the creatures landed on the windshield, its claws cutting through the glass. Eli grabbed his pistol and fired point blank. The shot blew the creature apart, but acid splashed onto his arm. He cried out and pulled back, his sleeve burning. Vorkal reached forward and tore off the damaged piece of armor before it spread. "Pain draws them," Vorkal said sharply. "Control it." Eli gritted his teeth, holding the controls steady. They broke through the smoke and reached the western sector. Ahead, he saw the remains of the research site, a crater filled with metal ruins and dark tunnels that went deep underground. They landed beside the crater. The moment they stepped out, the earth began to rumble again. Eli could feel it under his boots like a heartbeat. The swarm was coming. They moved down into the tunnels, flashlights cutting through the dark. The walls were marked with old human writing mixed with alien symbols. The deeper they went, the louder the pulse in Eli's comm became. It wasn't static anymore. It sounded like breathing. At the end of the tunnel stood a large chamber filled with broken machines. In the center was a core glowing with red light, pulsing like a living heart. Energy cables ran from it into the ground. Vorkal looked at it with hate in his eyes. "That is where they learned emotion," he said. "That is what calls them." Eli stepped closer, feeling the heat on his face. He could almost hear voices coming from the core, human voices crying, screaming, begging. His chest tightened. He saw flashes of his fallen team, their faces burned into his mind. Vorkal turned toward him. "You feel something. Stop it now, or they will find us." Eli tried to breathe slow, but a tear slid down his cheek. The moment it fell, the core flared brighter. The sound of the swarm filled the tunnels again, echoing closer. Vorkal shouted, raising his weapon. "They felt you, human." Eli looked up at the shaking ceiling as black claws tore through the stone above them. The ceiling split open as the swarm crashed into the chamber. The walls shook under the impact. Eli and Vorkal fired together, their weapons lighting the dark with bursts of red and blue. The creatures poured in like liquid metal, crawling over each other, filling every gap. Eli shouted for the others to fall back, but there was nowhere left to run. Vorkal swung his rifle and threw a grenade into the crowd. The blast tore the front line apart, but more came through. They moved faster now, drawn to Eli like a scent. The glow of the core behind him grew brighter with every beat of his heart. The sound of the voices inside it turned louder, calling his name in broken tones. He felt his knees weaken. He could feel the fear crawling into him. He looked at the core and saw faces in the red light. His squad, every man and woman who had died under his command. Their eyes were empty, their mouths open in silent screams. He wanted to close his eyes, but he couldn't. He could feel the tears again. Vorkal grabbed his shoulder. "If you feel, they win." Eli turned to him. "Then maybe it's time they lose." Before Vorkal could stop him, Eli ran toward the core. He tore the access panel open and started typing on the alien console. The machine reacted to his touch, its lights shifting from red to white. The swarm screamed in unison, their voices rising like a storm. Eli looked at the data feed and saw the energy spike. The only way to destroy it was to overload it from the inside. Vorkal realized what he was doing. "That will kill you." Eli didn't look back. "It will kill them too." He connected his neural link cable to the core. The pain hit him at once. His body shook as the machine read his mind. Memories flashed in his vision. The battlefield, the laughter of his squad, the night they died. He felt every loss again. The swarm slowed, reacting to his emotion. They turned from Vorkal and focused on him. Every one of them moved toward the human at the center of the room. Vorkal shouted, "Eli, stop! You cannot feed them more." Eli's voice was calm now. "They want emotion. Let them choke on it." The core began to pulse violently. The walls started to melt. Energy spread across the chamber, blinding and hot. Eli felt his body burning, but he held on. He forced the machine to take everything: his rage, his pain, his grief. The swarm reached him, climbing over his legs and arms. He didn't stop. He screamed, not in fear, but in defiance. Light exploded outward. The entire complex shook as the energy wave hit. The swarm's bodies froze mid-motion, their metal cracking and breaking apart. One by one, they collapsed into ash. The red glow faded. The sound was gone. Vorkal stood at the edge of the ruined chamber, staring at the place where Eli had stood. Only scorched metal and the shattered remains of the core were left. The alien lowered his weapon and walked forward slowly. He picked up Eli's cracked visor from the ground. The human's voice still echoed faintly through the comm channel. "Don't run. Watch what a human tear can do." Vorkal turned to the tunnel behind him. The surviving Zarvek soldiers were silent, watching the destruction spread through the ground above. The planet was breaking apart. Fire rose from the surface into the sky. The swarm was gone, but so was Eli. Later, when the Zarvek fleet escaped the dying world, Vorkal sent a message across the galaxy. His voice was steady, but his eyes were wet. "Never let a human cry," he said. "Not from fear, not from loss, because when they do, the stars burn with them." As the message repeated across the network, far away, deep in the black of space, a signal woke again. A broken, human voice whispered through the static. "Signal found. Human detected.